Good day, everyone. Today, we are shifting focus to the Glover Memorial Hall in Lagos. My name is Lukman Owolabi. Kindly stay with me as we examine the origin and significance of this colonial era landmark of Lagos. Glover Memorial Hall stands as one of Nigeria's most historic colonial era landmarks. The hall was built in 1887 as a memorial to Sir John Hawley Glover following his death in 1885. The land on which the hall was built was donated by Madame Mefunroye Tinubu, a powerful Yoruba female aristocrat and merchant, while other prominent Lagosians contributed money to build the hall. And perhaps it's best for us to pause at this point and get to know who Sir John Hawley Glover was in order to fully appreciate the reason behind such an honor by influential Lagosians. Sir John Hawley Glover was a British naval officer who was responsible for laying the foundation of what is today the Nigerian Army. In 1863, while serving as administrator and later governor of Lagos from 1864 to 1872, he assembled freed Hausa slaves, molded them into a formidable security force, and deployed them as escorts for colonial caravans, protecting trade routes, suppressing trade in slaves, and quelling local resistance. It was these Glover Hausas that evolved into the Hausa Constabulary, the West African Frontier Force, and eventually the Nigerian Army. More importantly, Sir John Hawley Glover was instrumental in developing the early administrative framework for Lagos. He was responsible for extending the marina. He constructed the broad street with proper water wells and established the Glover settlement in the Butemeta to accommodate refugees from Egbaland during the war with Dahomey. John Glover it was who opened up the Yoruba uplands for trade by establishing trade routes. He single-handedly transformed Lagos from a notorious slave market to a refuge for the free. Lagos became a prosperous city due to its dexterity and sincerity of purpose. So much so that Lagos came to be referred to as the Liverpool of West Africa. Sir John Glover was a peripatetic leader who was loved for the rectitude of his conduct, the charm of his conversation, and the unfailing courtesy of his manner. The people of Lagos adored him, such that on his return to England after expiration of his term, Lagosians wrote to the Queen and begged for the return of Obagoloba, as he was fondly referred to by locals. He was simply a humane man, and Lagos did not forget. Now back to Glover Memorial Hall. From its earliest years, the hall became a hub of cultural and political life in colonial Lagos. It hosted social gatherings, theatrical performances, public debates, and civic events, serving as a melting pot for the city's growing elite and reflecting the evolving story of Lagos as both a colonial and post-colonial capital. The hall holds a special place in the history of Nigerian cinema as the location of the first ever celluloid film screening in August 1903 on the invitation of Sir Herbert Macaulay, marking the beginning of modern cinema culture in Lagos and by extension, Nigeria. Management of the hall was later entrusted to a 7-member board of trustees made up of Europeans and prominent Lagosians, some of which were Charles Joseph George, James Jonathan Thomas, Jacob Samuel Lee, Richard Bill Blaze, Zachariah Archibald Williams, Josiah Alfred Savage, and John Augustus Otumba Payne, who was registrar of the Supreme Court at the time. It is also pertinent to note that the original building was demolished in 1961 and a new Glover Memorial Hall was constructed on Custom Street off the Marina in 1962. Today, Glover Memorial Hall continues to be remembered as a symbol of the rich socio-political and cultural heritage of Lagos. The hall played a major role in the country's liberation struggle. It also has a record of hosting a lot of meetings, visits, and social engagements, including the maiden meeting of Lagos Chambers of Commerce, the performance of jazz great Duke Ellington, and the visit of Prince Edward of Wales in 1929. The hall has also played a very important role in the promotion of local theatre groups, including those of Hubert Ogundi, Drew Ladipo, Moses Olaya Babasala, Kola Ogunmola, Oyin Adejobi, Segun Nasset, Ade Afolayan Adelove, and Eddie Ugboma. The film, Kongi's Harvest by Wole Soyinka, was also screened at the Glover Memorial Hall in 1970. How could I also forget that it was at the Glover Memorial Hall that I watched the iconic Indian movie Nagin in the late 70s, featuring Sunil Dutt, Jitendra, and Rina Roy, the Snake Girl. Such an exhilarating movie. After so many years of neglect, the Lagos State government embarked on the total remodeling of the hall in the late 2018. It was eventually completed and commissioned in 2020 by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. The hall has now been concessioned to a private firm to manage for a while. Glover Memorial Hall is a heritage building with great cultural and historical significance. It remains our fervent hope that the Glover Memorial Hall will not only boost activities in the entertainment and creative sector, it will also help restore the glorious days when it served as a relaxation point for Lagosians. And as Governor Sanwo-Olu said at the commission, this is the real identity of Lagos that should never be neglected. Well, what is not in doubt is that the Glover Memorial Hall will remain a historical monument to be treasured by future generations of Lagosians and by extension, Nigerians. See you next time.